good afternoon. What's going on? How's everybody doing today on this beautiful, beautiful Monday afternoon? I think we are about 2 hours into fall. I think I heard on the news that fall was supposed to hit at about 2:19 today. So yeah, we're about 2 hours into fall, and it's about to be hoodie season again. Time to dress warm, put away the shorts and all the short stuff for the ladies. All right, trying to put some real clothes on. All right, but anyway, you know what it is. It's Monday, Victory Monday once again. We gonna talk Eagles football. Yeah, we gotta talk some Eagles football. I'll talk a few other things mixed in today. First and foremost, some scores. Also got some news and some updates. All right, so I'm gonna get to some scores first. All right, going back to Saturday, NCAA football, is in season as well. Top 25. Number 17, Texas takes on number 16, Utah in the upset. Number 17 holds on, excuse me again, 34-10. All right, UAB at Tennessee, number 15, Tennessee. Tennessee holds on 56-24. Oregon State at number 6, Oregon. Oregon holds on 41-7. Number 22, Auburn at Oklahoma. Oklahoma holds on and upsets there 24-17. Kent State at number 7, Florida State. Florida State 66, Kent State 10. Michigan, number 21, Michigan at Nebraska. Michigan holds on 30-27. Purdue at number 24, Notre Dame. Notre Dame bounces back. They take that 56-30. Tulane at number 13, Ole Miss. Ole Miss holds on 45-10. Temple at number 18, Georgia Tech. All right, Georgia Tech keeps that 45-24. South Carolina at number 23, Missouri. Missouri holds on 29-20. Florida at number 4, Miami. Miami 26, Florida 7. Georgia State at number 20, Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt 70, Georgia State 21. Number 9, Illinois at number 10, Indiana. Indiana at number 19. Indiana. Indiana whopping 63-10. All right, Southeast Louisiana at number 3, LSU. LSU holds on 56-10. Sam Houston at Texas, number 8, Texas. Texas holds on, blanks them 55-zip. And Michigan State at number 25, USC. USC holds on 45-31. Major League Baseball yesterday. The Pirates blanked the A's 11-zip. Yankees get by the Orioles 7-1. The Braves get by the Tigers 6-2. Cubs get blanked by the Reds 1-zip. Let's see. Nationals get by the Mets 3-2. Guardians fall to the Twins 6-2. The Padres get by the White Sox 3-2. The Jays get by the Royals 8-5. All right. Cardinals get by the Brewers 5-1. The Marlins and the Rangers fall 4-2. Angels fall to the Rockies 3-1. Phillies get beat by the Diamondbacks 9-2. Dodgers fall to the Giants 3-1. Mariners 7, Astros 3. And by the same score, Rays 7, Red Sox 3. All right. Those are your scores. WNBA playoffs. Fever and the Aces in an upset. Fever holding on 89-73. Congratulations to Aja Wilson, also winning her 4th MVP. And the Mercury and the Lynx hold on 82-69. For some reason, folks, I feel like this is the year for the Minnesota Lynx. All right. I feel like this is their year. I really thought that Nafisa Collier was having a MVP year, but I don't get a vote. I don't know how they voted, but again, Aja Wilson won her 4th MVP. No disrespect to her anyway. Like, it's not like it's a bad choice, but I just felt like Nafisa Collier played a season where she should have been named MVP. All right, so some news, some updates real quick for you all. As you folks, you know where I'm at. Instagram, like I just told y'all about a half hour ago at the top of the hour. I was a few minutes late, so excuse my tardiness, but I'm here. All right, at SportsRap CEO, right on Instagram Live. You can tune in there and get me right now. All right. It's probably about 1. Yeah, about 1, 10 after 1 on the West. If you're out West and you want to tune in on Instagram Live. So check in again at SportsRap CEO. Get me right now, live and in living color. All right. Heat guard Tyler Hero is going to miss the start of the season following surgery. Jonathan Kuminga's agent says that he is prepared to take the qualifying offer from the Warriors, I believe. NFL instructs officials to be tight when calling the Eagles tush push. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in a few. All right, Clayton Kershaw of the Dodgers ace is set to retire at season's end. The Bill Belichick experiment at UNC is an even bigger disaster now than expected after a crazy loss to UCF. And Nick Castellanos harshly criticized his manager Rob Thompson after a Phil's win. It's been reports that those two have not been getting along for quite some time now, as per Nick Castellanos. Haven't heard much from Rob Thompson, though. So we'll see how that holds out after the season for Nick's future. There had been talk about a possible trading him. And Nick's issue was him being pulled out of the lineup a little bit more than he's used to, a little bit more than expected. And he took some little bit of issue with it. And I don't know, maybe they could have handled it a different way. I don't know how they went about handling it, but those are the reports, as I just gave you that little tidbit there, that the two have not been in really good standing for quite some time now. All right. Injuries from yesterday in the NFL. Two major ones to speak of right off the top. 49ers Nick Bosa has torn ACL, likely done for a season. CeeDee Lamb of the Cowboys is likely to miss 3 to 4 weeks. And on the NBA side, another major injury. The Rockets guard Fred VanVleet has suffered a torn ACL and is more than likely lost for the entire season. Right? Yeah, that's how long those injuries take. So, you know what we're here for. Week 3 NFL. Go Birds. If you're an Eagles fan, go Birds. If not still, go Birds. We're going to talk about that game in just a second. And then, as always, I like to talk about a few other games that were on the slate. But we are definitely have to talk about that Eagles game. And then I had a couple of other things that I wanted to get to. One other thing, NBA story, the Kawhi Leonard story. So if I have time, I'll pick that up and put that in. But if not, I'll bring it to you another week or make a video or something during the week, whatever. Anyway, but anyway, week three kicked off on Thursday. All right, Miami Dolphins and the Buffalo Bills in a really good game. In a really good game, to say the least. I didn't expect what I saw from Miami. Okay? But Buffalo holds on 31-21. Moving into yesterday's games, all right? Atlanta at Carolina. Carolina holds on, more than holds on. Shut them out 30-0. Wouldn't have expected. Yesterday was the crazy. There were a couple games that you look at and you see the outcome and you're like, wait, what? Like I said, and you see these, some of these games had backup quarterbacks, and I'll try to remember all of them, and I'll get to them when I get to them. But this first game, again, Atlanta at Carolina. I think Atlanta was like 1-1 or 2-0. Carolina was on 2. There was a lot of talk about the subpar play of C.J. Stroud. I mean, not C.J. Stroud. Who was the quarterback for Carolina Panthers? I can't remember his name right offhand, but anyway. There was talk about his subpar play, and you wondered how that team was going to hold up, and then they come out and they beat Atlanta 30-0. Right? Green Bay at Cleveland. Cleveland holds on and takes that 13-10. Different team than what we saw in the first 2 games from the Packers. And didn't see the same type of play from Jordan Love. And the Cleveland Browns have an elder statesman, elder veteran at their quarterback, Joe Flacco. But for them to lose that game, and I'm going to talk a little bit about this, compare these two games to this game and the Eagles-Rams game in a few. But when you look at and you think about this Packers game, it kind of was a shocker in more ways than one. And I say that to say, I don't know if that was actually the same team that showed up week 1 and week 2. If you understand where I'm going with that. They didn't look like that same team that played week 1 and played week 2. Right? And again, this is a team that after week 1 and 2, people were pegging as the biggest threat to the Eagles in the NFC. Okay. When I talked about them going into week 1 after they made the trade for Michael Parsons, I made some points and I just wondered, how would they start out the season? How long would they ride that momentum of such a dynamic player coming in at the very beginning of a season? They played very well week 1 and week 2. They did not play so well yesterday. And I don't know what happened for them to play the way that they played yesterday. There's a lot of confusion, excuse me, in Cleveland. I'm sure, like we could talk about teams and their identity, I'm sure there's no certified or clear identity for that team right now. You could argue and debate that there would be a quarterback controversy for the entire season for that team. A lot of the decisions that are made by that front office are very, very questionable. So for Green Bay to lose that, and again, like I said, to be, and remind you folks, mind you all, I still truly do understand that we have just about completed week 3, which is hardly an indication of how teams' season is going to go, who teams are, like what identity do teams truly have in week 3. Like, you can put some seeds out there and say that from what you've seen from quite a few of these teams, and as I go through them, we can remember the points and maybe get back to them. But a lot of teams, or a few teams now, you can argue and debate that what you saw over the first 3 weeks could be beginning to shape into their identity. And then, but for the most part, you really don't know your identity as a team, or you don't know a team's identity in week 3, right? This season, with a few exceptions, all right. But you really don't. So we'll get back to that in a second. All right, Houston at Jacksonville. Jacksonville holds on 17-10. Cincinnati at Minnesota. Battle of 2 backup quarterbacks. All right, one team that played their starters all preseason, looking to get a quicker start than they had in the last couple seasons, lose their starting quarterback last week in week 2. Cincinnati Bengals. They fall to Minnesota 48-10. Minnesota also lost their starting quarterback. Okay, so that's 2 backup quarterbacks, right? Pittsburgh at New England. Pittsburgh bounces back and they beat New England 21-14. Rams at the Philadelphia Eagles. I'm going to come back to that because we are going to talk about that game. All right, we'll skip that for now. The Jets and the Buccaneers. Buccaneers for the 3rd week in a row. Last possession, final possession, last second win. All right, you can argue, like I said, that could be their identity, but conventional wisdom and pretty much natural football, that's not going to happen for them every week. So it's not going to be their identity to just be a team that, all right, we can go up and down the field, go through all the motions. Don't worry, as long as we're close in the end, we'll win. It's not going to work like that for the rest of the season or for the entire season. Teams are going to catch up, and teams are going to realize that we are going to make it a way. We're going to make it so that if they do get the ball back in that late push and they score, that it really won't matter, right? That's going to be a lot of on the brain trust of teams to make it a point that if it gets to that point that we are up enough, at least 2 scores coming down to that late second, where even if they do score, doesn't matter, right? So we'll watch that and keep an eye on that for you all. Indianapolis at Tennessee. Indianapolis 41, Tennessee 20. People will argue and people will joke. We saw what Daniel Jones was in New York. 3 games in, he doesn't look like the same Daniel Jones. So you could argue, is it the change of environment? Could it be the coaching staff? Could it be the scheme? So there's a few things that you could argue there, right? We probably, from the outside looking in, won't know what it truly is. But in a small way, I'm happy for him because in New York, his career was not looking good at all. There is a beginning of a turn for the better first 3 weeks into this season. New team, new starting situation. So again, another story to keep your eye on and watch throughout the season. The Las Vegas Raiders come to the East Coast and play the Washington Commanders, who are also with their backup quarterback Marcus Mariota. Washington Commanders hold on 41-24. Denver at the Chargers. The Chargers have looked better first 3 weeks. Justin Herbert has looked better this season so far. I still have to see them get into the playoffs and win a game or two before I'm truly sold. But nonetheless, they do look a lot better than they have in the last couple years, and Justin Herbert has showed some maturity, showed some growth, and he looks better than he has in the past. They hold on to take that game 23-20 over the Broncos. New Orleans at Seattle. Seattle whoops them 44-13. Dallas at Chicago. Y'all can't see my shirt. My shirt has Jalen Hurts on it, and it says shh. It's got shh across the middle. You can see it on Instagram. Y'all can see that, right? Yeah. I'm gonna move this for y'all on here so y'all can see it too there. There it is. There's the shirt for y'all, right? Shh. Okay. That's what every Cowboys fan is doing right now. You just tell them that. Shh. Cowboys defense is bad. They lose CeeDee Lamb for about a month. They already have, 2 losses in 3 games. So you figure a month, that's 4 more games. Right? I'm not looking at the schedule. I don't know their schedule, but say even if they split, they're still looking at 4 losses already. Yeah. The defense, again, like I said, is bad. Prescott against a winless Chicago Bears team, who, again, another team that has no identity. Very young, but again, has no true identity. 2 interceptions late in that game. He was pulled, and then the backup quarterback came in and threw an interception at some point. The Cowboys fans go through the same thing every year. They start the season, this is our year, yada, yada, yada. Like it says over my shoulder, blah, blah, blah. This season already has the makings of a not very good one. And some people will incorporate the loss of Michael Parsons, which is a good reason and arguably a very big reason for that defense. But also you have to take into consideration the owner of that team, Jerry Jones. You paid Dak Prescott that guy. You paid Dak Prescott, made him the highest paid quarterback in the NFL. He hasn't won you anything. So, layman's terms, generally speaking, like the Janet Jackson song, "What have you done for me lately?" How do you get that much of a raise? You haven't done anything to prove worthy of that raise, in my opinion. What has he done to prove or to show or give you any thought from the way he's performed over the past couple seasons that he should be the highest paid quarterback in the NFL? But that's Jerry Jones. This is the reason why you had so many people that came into that organization and left shortly after. Players that were deserving of being paid, like a Michael Parsons. You couldn't work that deal out, but you make a trade. And again, like we said, the trade that you made, you got those 2 first-round picks, but they're late first-round picks, so they're arguably second-round picks. But for them to lose the way that they lost, and for Chicago to get their first win against them, it's a little strange. But it's also, in my opinion, in a small way, fitting for the turmoil that has been created in Dallas and has been created in-house. So it's sprouting out. And it's not like somebody was brought in from the outside and turned some things and shook a few feathers and this and that. No, it's somebody right in the house that's doing all of that same stuff. You shaking feathers, you turning stuff over and whatever. And it's not making you better. So it's like that old saying, like, you keep doing the same things and expecting the same result. It's not going to happen. Or I mean, expecting a different result, but it's not going to happen. So you keep going in your little circle and doing things the way that you're doing, you're going to be in this purgatory for a long time. Arizona at San Francisco. San Francisco fights back. Late minute drive with another backup quarterback, Mac Jones. They take that 16-15 over the Cardinals. And in the night game last night, Kansas City gets their first win over the Giants, 22-9. All right, 1 game tonight, closing out week 3. So, getting back to it. I can leave this here. Getting back to it, right? We had Eagles, Rams, right? First half of that game, abysmal. I think it might have been 4 possessions, 4 3-and-outs for the offense. The defense looked confused quite a bit. Wasn't looking good. Right? Wasn't looking good at all. I'm sure there were fans, myself included, that were thinking it's a possibility that this could be the first one. And it was just a reality by the way that they were playing. Right? I didn't want it to be, but being a realist and the reality of it was they were given every impression that that was going to happen. I don't know what happened, what was the turnaround, what caused the turnaround during halftime in that locker room. But the Eagles came out in the second half on both sides of the ball and played the style of football that we have been waiting to see 2 weeks in. They opened the offense up. And it could have been because they had no choice but to, being down the way that they were down. And then the 2 blocked field goals. One to truly seal the game. And when you listen to Jordan Davis talk about that post-game and press conference, and he talks about how remembering the first one, and they made mental notes of the kicker, his motion, his trajectory of the ball, things of that nature. So he said they were very, very confident. He basically said he knew that they were going to block the next one. All right. It even got to the point where slightly after the fact, and then after the first one going into the second one, the commentators in the game actually pointed out, like, oh, look at how they're lined up here, right together, and this and that, and whatever. So they kind of pointed it out, right? And then they go through and they block it again, and he returns it for the touchdown. Okay. When I talked to you last season about the Philadelphia Eagles, if you remember, if people don't remember, and I know a lot of you do. If not, y'all can go back and search on YouTube, SportsRap TV, find some videos from last season, and you'll hear it, you'll find it. I said that the Eagles, at that point, were beginning to be one of those really good teams. And what I meant by a really good team is really good teams know how, or they find ways to win. But more importantly, they know how to win. That Eagles team yesterday, that Eagles game yesterday, showed me a lot of that. Because ideally, they could have, in a lot of ways, technically folded. They could have not fought as hard as they fought. But it shows the growth of this team. It shows the maturity of a winning team where they can come together, both sides of the ball, defensively and offensively. Come together, shut out all the noise, play their style of football, and turn that game completely around in the second half. That is definitely a sign of a really good team. They showed the strength. They showed the resiliency. No quitting them. Okay, we down, but the game ain't over. We got a lot of football to play at halftime. They had a lot of football to play going into that second half. And when you look at the grand scheme of things again, that is what really good teams do. They come back and they find ways and they make ways to win. So comparing that game to the Green Bay game, Green Bay wasn't down like the Eagles were, of course, yes. So people will definitely, if you debate and talk about these games in a comparison format, people will definitely bring that out. But the Packers weren't down like the Eagles, so we can't really gauge it yet. My rebuttal to that would be, okay, I can give you that in a way, but if they are pegged as the biggest threat to the Eagles, possibly even overstepping the Eagles and making it to the Super Bowl, arguably they shouldn't have been in that position at all. The other thing, and you know where I'm going with this, like I always do, because I got to stay true to myself. I got to stay true to my city. I got to stay true to my squads. The Eagles game, people were talking. What's wrong with the Eagles? And then why is this looking like this in the first half? And this and that. And then all of that flipped when they came out in the second half and showed everybody, oh, all right, we had a very rough, uncharacteristic first half. But we still the world champs. We still the Philadelphia Eagles. And we're going to come out and show y'all what we do, how we do. Right? But people were talking. There was chatter. Why wasn't there that much chatter about Green Bay? Who the mainstream media put? The Eagles just won the Super Bowl. So they don't have to be put there as team to win the Super Bowl, none of that as the top team. They're the defending champs. But when you talk about a team like Green Bay making this trade for Michael Parsons, then all of a sudden you supplant the world champs without even playing the game. A lot of mainstream media did it. Put them ahead of the Eagles without even playing the game. Michael Parsons only plays one side of the ball. And I'm not saying that Green Bay is bad. Green Bay is going to be a tough out. I saw that. I felt that in game 1, game 2. But I don't know what I saw in game 3. But I can tell you what I know, what I saw in Game 3 with Philadelphia Eagles. And yes, Games 1 and 2 were not great. They were ugly wins, but they were wins. Game 3 got worse. But good teams do what good teams do. They came back. They fought. Yeah, they strapped up, strapped in, and they went and win. All right. Najee Harris looks like he suffered a season-ending injury. All right. There's a couple of season-ending injuries that happened yesterday. Right. So again, you talk about the Eagles, or we talk about the Eagles. Excuse me. And we see two different teams yesterday. Hopefully, moving forward, we will not see that team that played in the first half. Hopefully, we won't see that anymore. All right. I also want to point out, I like the fact that Jalen Hurts was animated in some dialogue with his coaches, right, on the sideline. Don't know what was said, don't know what transpired all fully, but we do know coming out of halftime there was a change in the offensive game plan, and then there was a moment when he was animated in a conversation with them. All right. Hopefully things will stay where they are. Not so much stay where they are, but hopefully we're now on the upward swing again, right? And I'm sure, some people, like I said, are going to have some things to say about Green Bay. Green Bay is going to get every defense in the world in this loss. They're going to get every defense in the world. But I guarantee you, if the Eagles had not come back and won that game yesterday, you could look on TV and they would still be talking about the Philadelphia Eagles right now. 24 hours later, 24 hours plus later, the Eagles will be the hot topic on every NFL show, every sports show out right now if they had lost yesterday. But again, mainstream media put Green Bay above Philadelphia Eagles. Green Bay loses to Cleveland, a team that's projected to not even make the playoffs. Team with a lot of confusion, a lot of turmoil within itself. And they lose. And it's kind of quiet about it. It's like hush hush. It's like, oh, it's just a regular loss. They lost, whatever. And when, like I said, when you think about it, the way that they made Green Bay or gave you the impression about Green Bay going into the season, again, I say they shouldn't have been in that position. They should have went in there and handled Cleveland. And I mean, you could easily argue the same way the Eagles should have handled the Rams because they have done it. But again, you play a team so many times and you begin to pick up on tendencies. You begin to learn some things, right? You begin to see some things, how you can get advantages within the game. I think Sean McVay outsmarted himself yesterday. There was one play when it was like 4th and 2, when he opted to punt the ball from the 50-yard line instead of going for it to try and get in field goal range. I think that was like kind of a momentum changer for that game. And, he thought that he was the biggest and brightest thing yesterday until that smack in the face came. Like you said, everybody has a game plan until they get punched in the mouth. Mike Tyson. Took the Eagles a half. Took them into halftime for them to throw that punch. But when they threw that punch, they continually threw more punches. Got back in the game and ultimately won the game. And mind you, the game was over when the field goal was blocked. But because of the rules changes, he scooped it and scored because anything could have happened. Right? So you stay in your mind frame, you play until the whistle, you pick that up, you scoop it, and you run with it. Right? They didn't really need the points. They were already up one, so the game was won. They could have just fell on it and the game would have been over. But again, like you said, you want to be assured of the win. You don't want to leave anything to chance. And you got a good bounce. You scooped and you just took it to the crib. Smart football. Right? Assured to win. Smart football. We're going to get this touchdown. We're going to take these points. And we know the game is over, but we'll do it. All right? And you do that also because we know if there had been a penalty, a defensive penalty, it would have been a re-kick. Right? So you take it all away. You do what you need to do. And again, there were no penalties on that play. It was just the Eagles paying attention. The Eagles' young defensive linemen paying attention to detail, focusing, right? Showing the grit and the resiliency that has been put on this team, has been built into this team, right? It's hard to beat, right? When you have that kind of urgency, resiliency, makes you for a hard out, makes you for a tough out, and I think the Eagles are going to be a tough out again this season. All right. More NFL news. Before I get into the more NFL news, let me go over some stats real quick. These stats are going to appear different than what we've seen in weeks 1 and week 2. Week 1 and week 2, Jalen was barely over 100 yards. Yesterday, he was over 200. He's 226. All right. Threw more passes, 21 to 32, 7-yard average. 3 touchdowns throwing, 1 touchdown rushing. All right. The Rams made a point to not let Saquon do his thing as he does against the Rams. So they focused on that, which helped open up the passing game for the Eagles, I believe. A.J. Brown, A.J. Brown, 10 targets, 6 receptions, 109 yards. 18-yard average, 1 touchdown, 38 long. 38 yards was his longest reception. Devontae Smith, 9 targets, 8 receptions, 60 yards also with a touchdown. Dallas Goedert, 2 targets, 1 reception, 1 touchdown. Saquon Barkley, 5 targets, 4 receptions. And John Mechie, 1 target, 1 reception. And Jahan Dotson, 3 targets, 1 reception. All right. Matthew Stafford in the QB comparison on the other side, 19 of 33 for 196 yards, 5.9 yards of average, 2 TDs, 1 interception, and 1 sack. Jalen Hurts was also sacked 4 times for 24 yards. All right, moving into team stats. All right, first downs, Rams 22, Eagles 19. Of the passing variety, Rams 10, Eagles 9. Rushing, 11 for the Rams, 6 for the Eagles. 1 penalty first down for the Rams, 2 for the Eagles. Third down efficiency, the Eagles were 5 of 14. Rams were 3 of 10. Fourth down efficiency, 0 of 1 for the Rams, 4 of 5 for the Eagles. Total yards for the Rams, 356, 288 for the Eagles. The passing yards. Total rushing yards, 160 for the Rams and only 86 for the Eagles. Red zone efficiency, Rams 1 of 4, and the Eagles were 3 of 3. Turnovers, no fumbles or fumbles lost for the Rams, 1 fumble lost for the Eagles, and 1 interception for the Rams. So 1 turnover apiece. And for the penalties, the Rams were penalized 4 times for 41 yards, the Eagles 5 for 50 yards. Now, since I left off there, and that was the last thing I made me talk about penalties, there were some penalties for taunting throughout the game. One, I'm still a little confused about, the one with Puka Nacua. Although he isn't our player, and you're probably saying, "Oh, why do I care about that? It was in our favor." Yeah, it was in our favor, but I don't really see the point. All he did was flex. There was nothing derogatory in a flex. It wasn't directed towards any of the Eagles players, towards the Eagles sideline or anything like that. So I don't get it. And I understand, like I told you what the rules were, the throat slash, the gun gestures, things of that nature. I get that. I also don't understand why a taunting penalty is 15 yards, why is the taunting penalty the same as a pass interference or a personal foul? Personal foul and taunting are two ends of the spectrum. How do we get a 15-yard penalty for taunting? I don't get it. I don't understand it. I don't understand what the NFL is doing. I said maybe a season or two ago, I'm feeling like the NFL is going to be flag NFL. All right? It's going to be NFFL, National Flag Football League, because they're making it so soft. And I mean, I get some of the stuff, right? The personal fouls, I get that. The horse collars and all that stuff, I get that. But again, like I said, how do you determine a 15-yard penalty for taunting? Like, if I'm a defensive lineman, defensive end, I rush the quarterback, I get the sack, then I stand up and I just point. All right, you call that taunting. But now it's a 15-yard penalty because I pointed or because I flexed after a catch. I flexed after a touchdown and I just beat the defense. So the defender is just standing there, but I flex and now I got a taunting penalty and it's 15 yards. How in the hell is it 15 yards is what I will never understand. Doesn't make sense. I get you 10 yards. Yeah, I can give you 10 on a taunting penalty. I give you 10. I was really thinking 5, but I'll give you 10. But 15? There's no way that penalty should be 15 yards. It's not going to be the same all the time as far as the taunt. A personal foul is going to be a personal foul all the time. It's a lot easier to get at a 15-yard penalty. It's a personal foul. It's going to be the same all the time. A taunting penalty, it could be a point. It could be a flex. It could be a step over somebody. It could be a bunch of things. And you're going to penalize me 15 yards. For what? Why is it 15-yard penalty? I don't understand why. Somebody help me understand why it's a 15-yard penalty. It makes no sense to me. I'll do some more research. But if anybody has any comments or whatever, please, the bottom of the video, you know where the comments are. Leave me a comment, something. Let me know. If you find out why, let me know so we can talk about it. All right. So, moving on. NBA season is right around the corner. You saw my post. You saw the reports, I'm sure. I posted one picture. It was an actual flyer for today's show as well. A slimmer, no knee brace wearing Joel Embiid in early training camp at the Sixers facility working out, doing some basketball things. Me being me, no hate, but we go through the same stuff every year. I said a lot of the same things last year. They say he lost weight, he looks like he was slimmer, and then we get the same thing, knee bang, he's out. I am glad to see that he's slimmer. I'm glad to see that he's on the court early. But we just saw pictures, so we don't have full video to know how long he was on the court. We don't know what happened after he got off the court. So again, for me, like I started to say, I like it. Gives me a little bit of faith. But I won't be reaching into that comfort realm until I see him on the court playing. with or without the knee brace. I need to see him playing, and I need to see him upright for a greater portion of the game. Until I see that, then it's just, all right, he's slimmer. He's on the court. For me, it's just where I am with it. I got to see him on the court. I got to see him physically play. My guy, Jay Blake, I have to see him physically play. And I'm not talking preseason game. I'm talking legit end of October, start of regular season game. I got to see him on the court. All right. That's where it's going to be sold for me. Because, like I said, we went through the same thing when Ben Simmons was here every year. Oh, he's shooting the ball in summer. He's shooting the ball. He's shooting the lights out. Yada, yada, yada. Blah, blah, blah. Regular season starts and all that disappears. I know it's not the same with Joel Embiid, but what I'm saying is it's very similar and it correlates. Similarities. Joel Embiid is slimmer. He worked out. He's determined to come back. He comes back and then, bang, injury. Now he's out. Supposedly he came in better shape. This was a big thing for him coming into training camp, out of shape a lot. Hopefully, like I said, you see the pictures. You saw him. He had slimmed down. Hopefully that made him come in a better shape. You know, maybe he was told that he needed to lose some weight to save some bearing on that knee. He's also put out there, he's also been heard saying that he wants to play a greater portion of the season this season. Because he knows, like we talked a couple weeks back, how wide open the East is right now with the other injuries that have taken place and some trades that have taken place amongst the East Coast teams. So in essence, the East is wide open. And if they can stay healthy, it's a big if, as we know, but if they can stay healthy, who knows? Right. Other NBA news. The NBA is going to implement a new change for this upcoming season. Any unsuccessful end of period heaves, so the long shots from half court, 3/4 court, whatever, will now be recorded as a missed team shot and not a player. Yeah, I'm a little confused about that too, because the player's shooting it. So how is it going to be a team shot if the player shot it and it's half court? I don't know. Some more fun I found, some other stuff. Talking about the NBA, like I said, I know we're in football season, but the NBA is right around the corner. All right, it's coming. So I just found some stuff that I thought I would have some fun with you guys, right? So this is a list. The NBA's greatest defensive starting five. All right, anybody's tuned in. Jay, Shanae, you a baller. If you're not here, you still there, Shanae. When you listen to this list, if not, you go back to this list, and I might even post this list, all right, under this video, right, in the tag, whatever, in this video, so people can give comments if they're not tuned in right now. But at the point guard, again, before I go through the list again, greatest defensive starting five, NBA. Point guard, glove, Gary Payton. Shooting guard, Michael Jordan. Small forward, Kawhi Leonard. Power forward, he had a tie, Giannis and Tim Duncan. Center, there was a three-way tie, KG, Dwight Howard, and Shaq. Now, mind you, people, I saw this list and I said to myself, oh, this would be fun to bring to the table just to discuss. And like I said, have some fun with it. Because it's like any other list. Names are here. People will say, oh, I could have put this person here. And again, it all boils down to how much basketball you have seen. Basketball game has evolved. There's different eras. There was a clip I saw of Michael Jordan. He was asked about being called the greatest of all time. He basically said the same thing. He's like, the greatest of all time is nonsense because you have different eras. Somebody could be great for this era, and then this era, and then this era. So it's kind of like some nonsense. But again, like I said, just because you go with this list, right? You have a list. There could be people, or there will be people that will say, small forward, huh? You got Kawhi Leonard there? Okay. And then, some people that really, really know basketball will dig down. And some people might even throw a name out like a Tony Allen. And I'm not saying, and the thing that really trips it up when you do this is it says greatest. And this is why I said it. I made it exactly like that. It says greatest. Because people will argue about eras, like we said, and people will have their opinions on who they feel is the greatest. In their eyes, this is why when people ask me your top whatever, I shy away from it and I tend not to answer. Because unlike me, if I give you my list after you ask me for my list, let's see, Jay Blake, he comes in, he says, this is what I'm saying. Gary Payton at the point guard. At the 2, Michael Jordan. Ron Artest. This is what I'm saying. You will get names. And I'm not saying this is wrong. I'm not saying it's right. It's just a very, very debatable list from the start where you can very easily swap out names and change players. So again, Jay Blake chimes in. He says Gary Payton, Michael Jordan, Ron Artest, Ben Wallace, and Shaq. See the difference? And I said somebody that's not even on his list. I said somebody that wasn't even a household name, but that's how much of a basketball fan that I am. I forgot about Ron Artest or Meta World Peace as he's named now. Right? Forgot about that. So again, people will say to you, what's yours, whatever. And then when you give it to them, they want to break it down and argue. Say, no, well, why you say this? And then, here's the thing. I get it. You said to me, what was my whatever? When I give it to you, you can disagree, but you really don't have much of a leg to stand on to combat it because you asked what mine was. Again, you can disagree, but you have to respect my list because that's what you asked me. The same way if I ask somebody, well, what is your list here? Bang, this is your list. Okay, I may disagree with somebody on your list. I may even ask a question like, okay, tell me why you got so-and-so at this position. Just to see how much you invested into your list. Because if you ask me mine, I'm going to invest into my list. And it's not going to be a quick blurt out bang list. I'm going to take my time and I'm going to give you a list. But again, like I said, same way it goes. I reciprocate it. If you ask me for my list and I give you my list, yeah, you might disagree with some names or some titles or whatever's on that list, but you have to respect it because you asked for my list. The same way if I ask you or somebody else for their list or your list, if I'm talking to you per se like that, and you give me a list, yes, there may be some things on that list that I might disagree with, but I still have to respect it because I asked you what was your list and you gave me your thoughts and your opinion. So I kind of have to respect it because I asked. I can't shoot it down and say you're dead wrong. Doesn't make sense to do that when you ask me or when I asked you for your list. I wanted to hear your thoughts, your opinions. And again, like I said, I can disagree with it, but if I asked you for it, I have to respect your answer. It's just me. It's just the bottom line. All right. Another one real quick. And I thought this one was kind of funny as well. 30th NBA teams over the last 10 years. At number 1, Miami Heat. Number 2, Nets. 3, the Grizzlies. 4, the Rockets. And 5, Sixers. I really don't know how the Sixers got on that list, but they're at the bottom of that list at number 5. And again, like I said, I don't know how they got on that list, but they are there. So, folks, I thank you all for tuning in today. Appreciate the support as always. Another Monday Sports Rap episode in the books. Thank you again. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Go Birds. Make sure you are locked in. Instagram, TikTok, and Threads is at SportsRap CEO. The webpage sportsrapradio.com. Right. YouTube, SportsRap TV. Make sure you get over there and make sure you subscribe to the channel. Hit the thumbs up on the videos that you like. There's a ton of videos over there and some shorts, long videos and everything. Then hit that bell to make sure you are alerted when new content is up. All right. Also, Patreon, heat100radio.patreon.com. All right. Exclusive there. Join the membership. It's like $4. You get exclusive stuff over there. You get some trivia where you can win some tickets, and some soon becoming you'll be able to win some merch. You'll be able to stay in touch with everything sports rap. All right. And finally, what else? Oh, on the airwaves, Heat 100 Radio, 24-hour music, DJs, clean mixes. You can send them to me. You can hit my send them to my email. Actually, you can send them to my Gmail. So if you get in my DM, message me here on Instagram, and I'll give you the email where you can send them clean mixes. It also goes out to artists who have clean songs you want to hear on the radio. If you are a business, you want to help with some advertising, you want to do a collab, some sponsorships, I'm here. Just hit my DM at SportsRap CEO. Let me know what you're looking for, or ask me some questions, and I'll tell you what my services are that I provide. Again, another Monday in the books. Be great on purpose. Before I go, Monday schedules tonight, Monday Night Football. You got Lions and Ravens. In Major League Baseball, you got the Nationals and the Braves, the Brewers and the Padres, the Cardinals and the Giants, and WNBA playoffs. Tomorrow, Mercury and the Lynx and the Fever and the Aces in games 2. Again, like I said, be great on purpose. Make sure you are locked in. Sports Rap Sports Rap podcast. Make sure you're locked in the Heat 100 Radio. Again, that's heat100radio.airtime.pro. 24-hour music. You can also hear replays of the Sports Rap podcast there as well. Make sure you're locked in. Be safe getting home. Talk to you all week on social media. Right back live on Monday. Peace.